Ready? Begin.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And that clock is inaccurate. All right, roll call and declaration of conflicts, please.
Councilmember Abram.
Hearing none.
Councilmember Pixel.
Hearing none.
Vice Mayor Franco.
Hearing none.
Councilmember Moniz.
Hearing none.
Mayor Bublak.
Hearing none. We have closed session first.
Tonight's closed session, we have conference with legal counsel, initiation of litigation, California Government Code 54956.9 D4. Potential cases 1.
All right, we'll convene back as soon as we're done. It shouldn't take that long. All right, we're back from closed session. Mr. Petrolakis?
Yes, Madam Mayor, the report out from the closed session is the report out, the action taken Tuesday evening in closed session was unintentionally broad, so the council rescinded those waivers of the confidentiality requirement in closed session and also the attorney-client privilege. They, so for the purposes of those waivers as to attorney-client privilege and the confidentiality requirements of closed session, the waiver is for tonight's proceeding only on agenda item
Leading the witness.
Objection, lady.
7A.
I heard that before. All right, thank you for that. So the briefing will be done by Ms. Werner, and it is a briefing, just informational only. You have the floor, ma'am.
I'll just sit right here. Good evening. Good evening, Mayor and council members and members of the public. So tonight I just want to give you a brief update on the project at 1617 Colorado. And just give us, it's been something that the community's been interested, so I just wanted to update the council on what's been going on. First, I want to kind of give you a little overview and background on what conditional use permits are. As part of our police powers, we're allowed to have ordinances and zoning in place. What that does is it allows us to look at the appropriate uses going into certain areas of town. Certain things that don't necessarily fit or have special conditions could be allowed by a conditional use permit. When the Las Palmas property was actually annexed into the city, it was several years ago, and at that time it had already been there as the Turlock guest home. So in 1979, a conditional use permit was applied for to allow the residential care facility to operate in the city limits. Conditional use permits are permits that run with the land. So that means from the start of 1979 going forward, that conditional use permit is in play. It's not something that goes with the applicant or the operator. So when Turlock Guest Home was purchased by another operator to operate as a residential care facility, that conditional use permit stayed on that land, and it stayed with that property. In 1981, Turlock Guest Home applied for an additional conditional use permit to build their two-story facility, the building right behind the one in the front. Again, that conditional use permit runs with the land, and it was for a residential care facility. Then in 1981, they expanded and bought some property to expand their parking area, and that's the conditional use permit from 1981. So that's just kind of the history of how the Turlock Guest Home and Las Palmas have operated under their conditional use permits at the time. And as far as going forward with Alamo and with their permit, they came in and contacted the planning division in 2003, earlier this year, asking about zoning and zoning verification. We provided them the information, that the zoning was for, was the residential zoning, and that these conditional use permits were on the property. Mr. Miller was the property owner at the time. We provided those documents to him. He asked for the conditional use permits. We also then received a request from Alamo asking for us to fill out their zoning verification form. We typically don't do, not that we typically don't do that, we don't. We have our own verification letter that directly tells anyone who is asking for zoning verification what we will provide and what that information is. They chose not to request that, so we went forward with that. Then in October of last year, they submitted building permits. They submitted several building permits just to do some upgrades, upgrade their electrical, put in a new roof, upgrade their HVACs. And so those permits have been going through the process. They were issued and finalized. The re-roof was finalized in earlier this year in March. The HVAC units were also finalized in April. They also submitted for a tenant improvement for the kitchen remodel and some interior and exterior accessibility upgrades outside. On the front of their page, there is usually a scope of work for any building permits that we have. Their scope of work and talked about the occupancy of being a residential care facility, and that the proposed occupancy was the same, so that they were staying as a residential care facility as what it was, and that's what the building permits were. So the work that they were doing was just doing upgrades, things to their sprinkler, their fire alarm system, the sprinkler and their hood suppression, just some kitchen remodel things. So they've been going through that process. They've had several inspections over time. Most recently, the most recent one being this afternoon. They did have a permit. They had changed out 6 HVAC units on the 2-story building. When our inspector went out a month ago, he found out that they had done that without building permits. So we contacted them, they submitted the building permits. They did get inspected today, and that building permit is signed off. The improvements for the kitchen remodel and the exterior accessibility site workout, that is still in play. They are some things that they still have to do. There are some minor building permit things that they have to do, like lighting that they have done. But the biggest, still big item is that they do have to put in a backflow preventer on the front as well as a fire hydrant. That goes through our engineering department. Those improvement plans were approved today and sent back to them, so they will be installing that. So that building permit is still open. That permit's still open until that is until it's tested, inspected by the city, and accepted by the city. So we won't issue a certificate of occupancy until everyone signs off on all the permits that everything has been done. So with that, I do expect probably within the next 2 weeks, we'll probably get another call for them to final the building permit, because they will have the backflow preventer and the fire hydrant in.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
The next item is 7A, discussion direction.
Thank you, Mayor. Item 7A basically involves 2 matters. They're laid out in detail in the staff report, so I'm not going to dwell on them too long. Both verbal and written credible information was provided to city officials, including me, Councilmember Franco, and the mayor, about a potential violation of the requirement that matters considered in closed sessions of the city council not be disclosed to the public without the authorization of the legislative body, in this case, the city council. And so I discussed that issue in some detail, and then a series of emails that are included in the staff report were copied to the mayor and to me, the city attorney. And then the mayor, because it involved Councilmember Bixel, the mayor asked Councilmember Bixel to put his recollection of events in writing, and that email exchange is also enclosed. So the matter before the council in this first part would be, does the council believe that a violation of the closed session mandate occurred? The second part of the staff report lays out the legal considerations, the applicable law, and provides the council with some options. If the council wish to take any corrective action, that would be a direction provided to the city attorney, and then I would come back with that matter. That package would be provided to Councilmember Bixel in advance, so he had time to review and comment on it. So that is my staff report, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
Well, yeah, first of all, I guess to not make you cringe, I plead guilty. I mean, I had a lapse of judgment. And I explained in my letter to the mayor my perspective and how, in my recollection, how things transpired. I deeply regret it. I am sorry for what the light that it is shining on the council, the trouble it has caused staff. Not to mention, I mean, I'm not proud of it. I deeply apologize. It's been a painful, miserable lesson, and it certainly won't happen again. I'm sorry, and I fully accept my responsibility, the responsibility for what happened.
Okay. Other council thoughts? Suggestion by Mr. Petrolakis? Referee?
Move this meeting to be
Well, I don't
adjourned.
know, you have to take public comment at some point, so
Sure.
I don't,
Any questions?
you want a suggestion before that? I don't.
No, we can wait. Okay, we'll open it to the public. Anyone wishing to speak regarding this item? Okay, we'll close public comment and bring it back. Now, do you have any suggestions, Mr. Petrolakis?
Well, on pages 4 and 5 of the staff report, I lay out possible corrective actions. So if the council feels those need to be, one of those needs to be, one or more of them need to be applied, it's the council's right to have a discussion about them. Certainly, I had some opinions about them, as you saw in the staff report. The municipal code purportedly makes this kind of violation an infraction, and then because of the way our code is constructed, a possible misdemeanor. I do not believe that's enforceable under state law because the Brown Act has preempted the field. That conclusion is based on a attorney general's opinion that's been out there for a long time. So I do not think that remedy actually exists. Let me see. The other one that I don't think is appropriate in the case is employee discipline. The Brown Act lays out 3 possible corrective actions that can be taken. They are not exhaustive. They are illustrative, meaning the statute says, the legislative body can do the following, but it's not limited to doing the following. So the one that is about employee discipline as a listed remedy, it's not, I would say there's not direct legal authority on point, but the statute draws a distinction between a member of the legislative body and an employee. And so I concluded that I don't think that is available to you. Referral to the grand jury is also listed in the Brown Act section itself as a remedy, so that one would be available. A reprimand or censure, usually done by resolution, that's a common remedy I found. I would say that's the most common remedy in situations like this. And then in the other section, other things in a way are limited to the imagination. I think the example I used in the staff report was if the city council was concerned about the level of knowledge and familiarity with these Brown Act requirements, it could by motion or by resolution sort of say something like the council member should get some more education on the matter, something like that. The other one that I don't think applies, I skipped over. It's one of the 3 listed possibilities is injunctive relief. I don't think that that's a high bar to be granted, and I don't think these facts, I don't think that goes anywhere as us being able to show, any sort of immediate harm based on what we know now. So, and I'm happy to answer any questions, as always.
Questions or comments?
And those are the only ones we have? Is there any other things that we could do,
Well, I mean,
consider?
what was interesting about researching this, I would say, you find a lot of opinions and you find a lot of cases. Most of the case law is in the context of somebody's trying to do discovery in a lawsuit and they're trying to pierce the closed session thing. So that was only a limited utility. So you see a lot of creative ideas out there. The ones I listed, I think, are the ones that are pertinent here. There's another category that maybe I should have included in the staff report, but it's when when I saw efforts to do things like having a member not attend closed session for a while, things that were more about the office held. And at least my conclusion on those raise a different kind of due process standard. And in analyzing it, and not just me, but with Mr. LeBurk, also the former Stockton city attorney, it's likely that those to actually be imposed would have to be done through injunctive relief, once they kind of enter into the privileges. So I didn't really dwell on those because I didn't think they were, I think they would end up at that high bar of the injunction. So, but I'm trying to think. There were, I think there were one or two that made me laugh. I mean, people are creative, in such a situation, but I didn't think they were necessarily pertinent. I think you have the main ones before you.
Okay, thank you. Thoughts?
Just comments, I guess, more than anything. I had a lot of questions because when this came out, of course, we got bombarded with constituents. Most of them weren't my constituents because this isn't in my district. But Council Member Bixel has, taken responsibility for this, which makes me cringe as a defense attorney. Nevertheless, we're here. There is one question that I have gotten from a lot of people, and I think we owe it to the public, is how do we, whatever our resolution is tonight, I want our end goal to be that we are able to ensure the public that it's not going to happen again going forward. Look, he made a mistake. He owned it. We need to move on. Okay. But we need to make sure that it doesn't happen again, because even though it's one council member that this is falling on tonight, it reflects on all the 5 of us, because we are, at the end of the day, a council as a whole. So I just want to see us be able to take some, whatever we're going to take, and move on and get past this.
Yeah, I agree with you. He's apologized. He's admitted it. He didn't hide anything. He admitted it. Right here in front of, the public. So I appreciate that. I really do. And in the end, we're a team. We may have differences of opinions and we may vote differently, but we're still a team. And so, yeah, I'm not sure what the next step is. I mean, I don't have any other than maybe another class. Read the Brown Act. Right. This isn't a Brown Act violation. It's read the manual for us about closed session again, maybe.
Okay, so is that a motion?
That's just comments.
I hear you.
I agree with my colleagues that I really appreciate Councilmember Bixel for sharing what you did in your memo and saying what you did now, because it's not easy to own up to something, especially in a setting like this. I agree that, more education is always good, in the spirit of being a team and, showing that we want the public to understand all of this. Like, I think I would like to discuss, like, is there a Brown Act workshop or something that we can all have and the public can be a part of to understand what the Brown Act is, what we need to, be held accountable to. And I think that can show that we're, we all take our AB 1234 training, but, that happens at conferences and online and stuff like that. So I would propose that as an option.
I think the clerk's office will be very excited to host such a session.
Wow. Madam Clerk, he just threw you under the bus.
Wow.
And our clerk is very, very knowledgeable and wonderful when we ask her things, so I think I'm appreciative of that.
Okay, so is there I'm
I
sorry.
just like to make a comment. Number one, I appreciate you all, and I don't want to make your life any more miserable than it already is. So, I mean, I'm happy to take the class. You know, remediation is, I've lived that way my whole life, right? From about second grade on. So, anyway, I'm a slow learner.
Aren't we all? Okay, so you don't want us to go Misery Loves Company? You don't want us with you?
You all don't need to be sentenced with me.
Okay, no sentence. Okay, so a remedial class for him towards closed session / ethical dilemmas.
That would be my, yeah,
Okay, we have a motion.
second.
God.
Technically, unfortunately, this is about the Brown Act, so the agenda item actually was to provide direction of the city attorney to come back with something, so I'm a little reluctant to,
Do you have enough direction?
yeah, I certainly have enough direction. I'll just ask, does the council, when the matter comes back, do they want it by motion or resolution? That would be my only question, so. I think I've got the gist of it.
What's
which
the
we're-
difference?
We're looking at, well, a motion's just, you make a motion, you second it, it ends up in the minutes, a resolution, it'll be a
What's
pretty
the-
short resolution if there was a resolution.
What's easier on Councilmember Bixel? That's what I would like.
Well, ask him what he wants. I don't know. I think, it's like,
I want a motion is what I'm getting. My defense over here.
yeah.
My sentence.
All right, so you
I
have
would say he
direction.
chose correctly if the goal was to
The
minimize
motion,
things,
it's a
yes.
motion.
Okay, so you
Yeah,
have
so we'll just bring it back on maybe even on we'll have to have maybe even consent I'll see if I can.
Okay, so you have direction. So now we
Yeah.
go to public participation.
How many classes would you like him to suffer
wow.
through would be my only question.
Just the one.
I close this concept. We're moving on to public comment, and
Yeah,
Liz,
okay, very
you're
good.
up next. Yes,
Hello, my name is Liz Padilla.
you gotta speak into the mic. Come on, you've been here.
My name is Liz Padilla, and I want to thank you, City Council, for letting me speak. I was here because I heard about that new mental health thing they were building by the school or something, which I don't think it's a good idea because of the kids and when people go off the meds. And I don't know if it's going to be like a live-in program. Is that what it's supposed to be? A live-in program? But are they allowed to go back out?
It's not a locked facility.
So it's not a locked facility. See, so then you have that when they are taking the meds or off the meds and you have the kids walking around and stuff and they're swearing and cussing and doing the stuff that they do, you're going to have to worry about that. And then you got your pedophiles out there that you have. I mean, come on. And then here, my whole thing is, it seems like we never did anything. What have we accomplished with the homeless? Really? They're still in Central Park. They're still in front of the businesses. It's going to rain, so I hope we're ready for that. And hopefully that we do get, and I know everybody feels bad about the mission, but you know what? The mission worked no matter what. We had our goods, our bads, but it was a place where they can go. And it is awful that the city council or nobody's doing anything about downtown. We deal with it every day, 4 o'clock in the morning, 6 o'clock in the evening, 10 o'clock, 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock in the morning. They sleep all the way on Main Street, right across from Central Park from one end to the other. They're painting, they're throwing crap all over the place, and we got to clean it. But we still, no matter if they're sick and they're homeless, we have to treat them with dignity too and respect. And we're not really doing that because they have no place to go to the bathroom when they got to go in the morning or when they got to go in the evening. And then somebody goes over there and gives them a big old box of food. Where do they throw it? Central Park. Well, how are they going to cook that food? I got to pick that stuff up, and I don't even have to pick up leaves, but I pick up the leaves because I love Turlock. I'm supposed to pick up the debris and then move the homeless. But we gotta get something done for them. They need restrooms to be out there. You can't disrespect them not to go behind the bins, on the side of the walls, across the street. Now they're going by the bank across the street on Lori's Antique Store.
Thank you, Liz.
We have to do something. So hopefully we
Thank
see
you.
a change.
Okay.
I'm sorry.
Anybody else? Christina? Joe's replacement?
He's at back to school night. So
Oh, that's important.
I'm Christina Hacker with the Turlock Journal. I had two questions. The one was I'd like to know what the vote was to waive attorney-client privilege, if it was a 5-0 vote. Or
It was
if
5-0, yep.
Okay. And then the second question I had was I was curious what you feel like Kevin Bixel's comments, how they impacted whatever the council was doing. Like, was there some sort of impact to him saying no win or head over your skis or something, your skis over your head or whatever in his memo that he said? How did that impact something that the council was doing? If you want to answer that.
I guess the answer to that are probably more appropriate after the meeting, you know.
But doesn't our waive time?
Oh,
end?
well, if you want to invoke something, yes, I mean, that's a fair point. If you want to, I mean, if you want to comment that involves something that was a closed session matter, yeah, I mean, yes, I mean, you could answer now, I guess. Brief answers and public participation.
Okay. Start down there. Okay,
I'm not either.
sorry.
Okay, so you guys, so are you saying there was no impact or there's an impact that you're not going to tell me about?
Saying
That-
no comment.
So no comment.
Yeah.
What's the question?
I'm wondering if, you know, if what he did had an impact on something. Or are you guys, I'm wondering if there was just, that was a breach of protocol or mandate or whatever language you want to use, or if there was an actual, something happened because of what he said to the two supervisors and Mr. Bridegroom and
I will say that I said nothing to the two. I mean, I will say that I said nothing to the two supervisors.
okay, so whatever comments you said to whoever, that, which is the point of this meeting, did it impact something happening or something not happening, or was it just the fact that you said these comments and they want to stop that, or was there actual a consequence that happened? Or that's what I'm saying.
Christina?
I will say that I think the point of the meeting tonight was to deal with the how closed session was breached. So I think it's in my opinion, this is more of the procedural.
Okay. So no comment on whether or not there was an impact. So there could be or there still couldn't be. It could be either one. That's what you're going with. No.
I think that question you can ask individually of the members, because I don't think it necessarily involves closed session, if I'm understanding it right. So I don't.
Okay, well, let me put it
necessarily-
this way. So my
it's
understanding
like-
is the closed session had to do with legal lawsuits.
Yeah, correct, yeah.
So Mr. Bixel commenting to whoever about what happened in that closed session, did it affect the lawsuit? Or supposed lawsuit or lawsuits?
Well, the council gave the city attorney the discretion to, whether to proceed, which was reported out July 9th or whatever. So I actually am not, I'm probably the best person to answer, and I'm not going to answer because it still involves legal things that I'm not prepared to discuss. I mean, the waiver allows us to talk about it if it doesn't harm the city, but it doesn't require us. So I'm going to decline to answer.
Okay.
Yep. Thanks.
Okay.
Anybody else? Okay. Oh, yeah, come on up, Miss Romeo. Come on up.
Not the issue, it was on Colorado, are we not discussing that?
We were only at a briefing on it,
Oh.
and then that was the end of that. So yeah, yeah, no more.
But she can talk about it now because it's.
Yeah, if you want to say something for 3 minutes about it, yeah, come on up.
I was here when the first meeting
Sure.
that we talked about, and there was like 300 people here.
Right.
And my concern is still the same. The facility is needed. But I think there's a confusion because this wasn't for just the homeless. This was from coming out of the jails and coming out of institutions. That's what we were talking about. And I think we've mixed what this is. And that's why I think the public is confused. And because of the amount of children, grandchildren I have, number one is how many schools there are in this area. And what this lady had said from the beginning, that's my concern. And I think there's hundreds of people out there that feel the same way. So my only concern is, I think we have now the cart before the horse, and that is, I see everything being built. So it's almost as if, okay, you can go ahead, but this wasn't the place for it. We need the facility, but I know there was other places, and I've talked to people that could have gone. So I don't know how we stop this now. That's really my concern, and that's all I wanted to say tonight. Okay, thank you.
Anyone else? Ron?
Was that just a comment to me, or no?
No. I'm saying.
Oh.
I didn't even hear it, so.
Okay.
That's something.
It was don't do it. So
Oh.
am I supposed to?
Oh. Don't go
Yeah.
there.
I don't. Yeah. Okay. Well, nice laugh. How about that? What was I going to say now? Oh, right. Okay. So it seems like it's going to open. So I think we need to have a plan of what we're going to do to protect the children of the community if there are issues, because it's not a closed facility, not a locked facility. I'm sorry, I didn't use the right term. And they can leave, and in the past they have left, as this young lady has testified. You're welcome. So that's what I see as missing, is what are we going to do, okay? And I hope that we can have some leadership, some conversations about that, okay? So that's all that I'm saying.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Hampton?
Mr. Bridegroom, thank you for the question. Just for a point of clarity, the police department currently is working on a security plan that may or may not be implemented by the applicant. And once we issue the occupancy certificate, it will help us to further understand their operation and understand the different processes and the types of patients that they're going to have. And at that point, we will hopefully work collectively with them to put together an on-site and off-site safety plan for the community. Now, we plan to partner with them as an organization, and we could very well open this up to a community workshop to talk about concerns with Alamo so that you can be present. But I'm not willing to bet that they would be participatory in that activity. So even without that, the city of Turlock will have an action plan for on and off-site emergencies. We will have a security plan that we will enforce through our general patrols and other activities that we need to engage in to hold people accountable for their conduct. But we are hoping and praying that Alamo will understand that they will be easier accepted. It'll be easier for them to be accepted by the community if they work with us collectively and they're transparent.
Thank you. Is there anybody else who didn't speak, wanted to? Okay, we will close public comment and we will adjourn till our next regular scheduled meeting.